What's that?
It's the it's the volume on. I was trying to dial in.
That's what I figured. It's
I
a
don't know.
dialing volume. Okay.
Yeah. I was trying to dial in to Bible Christians the God. Yeah, we're live right now. All right. Once again, as people start to come on, today we're going to discuss the first fruits count to Pentecost. Just had any questions about listening? I was trying to dial in.
I thought I turned the volume off.
No, that's
catches me all the time.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry about that. Yep.
I was just saying, can anybody hear me on a conference call? Can I get a confirmation I can be heard on the conference call? I'm not sure if they can even hear me or whatever. Once Brother Jacob come on, hopefully give us a happy Sabbath, then we can go from there and I can ask him. And we can go accordingly. All right. But real quick, just want to let everybody know on Facebook, on YouTube, that we're streaming both live as usual. If you got any comments, any questions about today's lesson or discussion we're going to talk about today, go ahead and chime in and we'll deal with your question, or you want to add to the conversation, post it in the chat, whether on Facebook or YouTube. We'll read your post or your question as long as it's prevalent to what we're talking about, of course. Because sometimes we get a lot of different relevant. I'm sorry. We get a lot of different posts that might be irrelevant to what we're talking about. We'll deal with everything appropriately. I don't know if they can even hear me on this conference call. Testing. Is anybody on the conference call? Can you hear me? Can I get a confirmation? All right. Well, we'll just check with Brother Jacob as he come in. Happy Sabbath, Sister Brittany. She's in the other room.
I figured that.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that. Yeah.
All right. Just a quick go at it. So in today's lesson, we talked about the first fruits and how to count the Pentecost. As we know, as the sun go down tonight, will be the first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread. And today is Passover. We should have had the Passover last night.
Devin, I'm sorry.
You guys got anything you want to talk about the Passover before we get into it?
Is that my feed? You seem really slow. Like it's the feed. It might be me, but I don't know if anybody else is seeing you. Your feed being slow.
No, it's the connection. It says slow connection.
Connection. I'm sorry, your connection. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it better now?
Hello, Isaiah. Are you getting the same slow connection from Brother Devin? I am. I'm getting a slow connection.
Not really.
Okay, it might be me.
Can you understand? Can you hear me okay, Brother Isaiah? Oh, now?
Yeah, you're good now. You're good now. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, cool. All right. So we talked about the Passover, we talked about the first fruits, and we also talked about how the way sheaf offering will be tomorrow. We discussed from Exodus all the way to Revelation, actually, in today's lesson. And was any conversation, Brother Mike, you have any questions about the Passover or anything about the count to Pentecost and the wave sheaf being tomorrow or anything like that?
Yeah, no, we can get into some of the stuff. I know that you have the calendar. I'm a visual person. So I just want to, I guess, how we can just talk about, exactly how we count and, and why we don't have exact days. Some people might not understand why we don't have, I don't know if you guys touched on this in the lesson, so I apologize, but why don't we have an exact date of, when Passover and unleavened bread is, as opposed to other holidays that other people have? And I guess why it's important to actually get this count right, and because everything else falls in line. So I guess that's some of my questions that I have.
Okay. Oh, why we have like a set time?
Yeah.
Kind of like Easter is always on Good Friday, or Good Friday, and it always Well,
Yes.
okay, we can go Leviticus 23 for that one.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess, from the outside looking in, I would always get questions like, well, you told me this date 2 weeks ago, and sometimes it'll be work that most of the time I guess it'd be work that would actually tell me that, as opposed to this year. And why is it always jumping around? And are you guys making this up?
Oh, it's not like on the 25th of every year is Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all so, and everything and float like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and I guess for most people, like you said, it doesn't, for them it doesn't flow, but we don't go by a man's calendar. I guess we should say, right? We go by the signs that the Lord had put for us.
Right. They have the Gregorian calendar and they have the lunar calendar and lunar calendar. We're more. Well, the thing about that, we use both in a way, because people say you can't have two calendars. I said, well, we operate more according to lunar calendar when it comes to the Lord's calendar. Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, we'll just start the Exodus chapter 12 instead of Leviticus 23.
Yeah, cool.
And we can start at verse 1. This is where we started it with the lesson today.
Okay. Exodus chapter 12 and verse 1.
Yep.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye.
So now here, of course, we know that this is when the Lord starts his new year. Mm-hmm. And this is when the Passover is. If you look at the header of your Bible, because I'm not gonna do the whole lesson over again, but I'm just gonna touch on some stuff, and then we can all jump in on this. Mm-hmm. Like the header of my Bible says Passover. Mm-hmm. We know in the next couple of weeks, everybody is talking about, the resurrection of Christ across the world right now, which I know they celebrated, like I think what Easter this year is April 4th or something like that.
Yes, April 4th.
Yeah, but this is the season in the spring, and the season in the spring is when the Passover is kept, and then the season of spring is when the new year for the Lord actually starts. Like switch, go to the next chapter and read verse 4.
Exodus 13 and verse 4. Uh-huh. This day came ye out in the month of Abib.
All right. We got a name for the month. He said first this is the beginning of the year of the month, and now he said Israel came out during the month of Abib. So once we establish when Abib is, then we can start counting when the feast starts, and Abib changes every year.
Right.
And matter of fact,
right.
I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Right. Right. Because that's the part, I guess, like you said, a lot of the days aren't stagnant because Abib changes every year, as opposed to their New Year's, where we know it's always January 1st. December 31st is the New Year's Eve. January 1st is New Year's, regardless of where you are in the world, with the moons, with stars, any of that stuff.
Right. Matter of fact, can you see this right here, bro?
Yes.
Okay. Can you read the definition of Abib or brief discussion on the word Abib?
Mm-hmm. All right. So let me just blow up my.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. All right. So Abib is an ear of corn, the month of newly ripened grain. Exodus chapter 13, verse 4, 23, verse 15. The first of the Jewish ecclesiastical year and the seventh of the civil year. It began about the time of the.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm saying now that part in the seventh year of the civil year. That's something that the people in the land added.
Okay.
It's only one. You know how they say during trumpets, Rosh Hashanah, that means New Year.
Yes, that's what they're talking about.
That's what they're referring to, but that's something that they added in, but it's not biblical.
Mm-hmm.
That's something
Right.
that they added for whatever. That's it's only 1 month in the year, and that's at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Right. Only one new year. Yep. It began about the same. I'm sorry. It began about the time of the vernal equinox on the 21st of March. 21st of March. It was called Nisan after the captivity, Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 1, on the 15th day of the month. Harvest begun by gathering a sheaf of barley, which was offered unto the Lord on the 16th. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 4 through 11.
Yeah, so know what they're saying. This particular one is saying that they gathered the barley or the sheaf on the first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread. Then the next day, they offered up as the wave sheaf offering. So I'm assuming that, of course, the book tells us that the first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread, and also is on the 15th of that first month. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah. You mean, yeah, you were in and out for a little bit, but yeah, I can hear you again now. You're good.
Okay. And then it says that in Leviticus 23, it says it has to be weighed on a morrow after the Sabbath, which is always on a Sunday. But I read here, so let you know that the bib, yes, it's always on a Sunday, that a bib actually starts the month with newly ripened grain. That's what bib even means. It means newly ripened grain or green or ear in the corn and stuff like that. So it's an agricultural thing. That's why a lot of people, I could stop saying this. A lot of people use the Farmer's Almanac to come up with, to come in to calculate, the new year and things like that. Now, I learned something earlier how they calculate. Now, Easter is similar. It's always a Good Friday. It's always on a Sunday. That's the thing about Easter. Right. Whereas the Lord's Passover can be any day of the week. But Easter and the days around Easter are always set.
Yes.
To calculate Easter is the it's like the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. So, once they see that full moon after March 21st, that next Sunday they say that's Easter. So it's always going to, so they just find a Sunday. Now, the thing about the vernal equinox, it changes. It's not always March 21st. It changes. The only reason they say it's March 21st because when the Farmer Almanac wrote it up, that it was convenient just to keep it always around March 21st. The vernal equinox could be earlier in March like it was this year. So that date is not a date that can be like set in stone all the time. Because that's why when we did the count, I was like, okay, why is the new moon prior to the vernal equinox? Because it moves too. It's not a set date. So so that's how the Lord's New Year has to be established. It has to be established according to that, and it can vary from year to year.
Right.
And every now and then, like I said, there'll be a 13th month in there somewhere, just to set everything back in order.
Right. So
once we have that, then we can start.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, bro.
No, I was saying, they already have the Easter for next year already mapped out on the calendar, on the calendar that I saw. But a question that I had is that with the month of Abib, is there any controversy as far as any of these different camps might have a see it differently as far as when the new year is starting or when Abib starts?
Now that I'm not 100% sure, because I know as far as from things I studied, you have some people who say the new year is a conjunction, or that's when it might start with a conjunction. and some may start with a sliver.
A sliver,
so that would
right.
throw days off a couple of days. Yeah, because it's like maybe 2 days, or, a couple of days off as far as, okay, a bid start here and a bid start there. Then you have the guy, the people who watch the barley. They go to Jerusalem and they find a certain field and they keep an eye on that field. And when a barley become green or ripe, then they say, okay, now it's a bib, and they look for all the other signs as well. They look for the vernal equinox. They look for the new moon, the new conjunction moon, or new sliver moon, depends on who you speak with. And then they start calculating new moons and stuff like that. So they won't have their calendar until like March or April that they'll start calculating the feast days. But us for convenience sake,
for that
we
year,
just kind of go off. Yeah, for that year. They don't go all the way to the next year because you don't know.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because sometimes I know that some of these camps, they already had the stuff mapped out for next year during the first year. Or right now, they would have next year mapped out. I'll tell you when.
Yeah, right. And that's through technology. Like you can just Google it, like when the new moon will be for next year. You can Google it for the next 5 years, actually.
Yeah, because actually I saw the 5 years. Yep.
.com has all the new moons and everything, has it all run 5 years out. But for those who don't use that technology and they just want to use according to the barley and according to the and all that stuff, they make their calendar like right then and there and go from there.
If you go ahead and use a new technology, and then instead of using the barley, there's you could be wrong then, or it could be if the barley isn't right.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess that's some of the dangers that you fall into, some of the traps.
Yeah.
But I guess on the flip side, right? I guess if you're a righteous person, you can always say, hey, we were off a couple of days, but this is the true day. But the technology that they use is kind of convenient. At least I believe so. Unless until you figure out, like you just said, Brother Isaiah, hey, the barley's not right, so we might have to push this date, these dates back some, or so on and so forth.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen where they said, okay, as soon as we starting to do this right now, they came up with next year's. I'm like, man, real quick.
Right.
On YouTube, Isaiah from Jersey said, yes, there are a few ways to count the start of the new year. He said some camps use migrational patterns with animals in connection with the new moon and crops. So,
really?
I mean, yeah. So, everybody have their ways of doing it, and right. And that's when I think humility come in, as far as because when you realize that everybody's trying to do the best they can with what they have. Like even in today's lesson, I said, this is how Bible Christian Fellowship Spirit calculate this. This is us, and as long as we are in the general part of the season, within the season, Lord willing, and Lord have mercy if any of us are not right. Because I don't think anybody's being malicious. Malicious. If you're being malicious with it, that's one thing.
Right.
But if you're honestly trying to do God and this, that's when mercy come in. Even King Hezekiah, he said, Lord, please have mercy on those who are not doing it accordingly as it's written, when he was talking about the Passover on the second day of the 14th month. Because we're all trying to do the best we can what we have.
Right.
So that's when humility comes in. We're not slamming anybody or saying, they bogus, they fell off, this, and this. We're all trying to do the best we can what we have. So just have a little mercy with it, at least look into it.
Right.
Yeah, but it's possible, Brother Isaiah, like they said, you can do technology, but if you try to go to the way when you use a farmer's almanac and you actually go and have someone check in Jerusalem. Because I seen it when I had two different websites, and one was a day off from the other because the field they were looking at wasn't as ripe as that they were looking at.
Right.
And it depends on who you follow. I think the people over in the land, I think they have, their high priests or whoever they have doing it, have a set common thing that they look at and they send letters to everybody. You know what I mean? Like this would be the designated field that we look at. This is what we're going to keep an eye on, and this is where we're going to go from here. If you ever compared all the dates, sometimes they're really pretty close.
Yeah.
Usually everybody's in the same week or less than a few ballpark from each other.
So it is important.
Go ahead.
I would say it is important to understand, though, that everything is set in the land, not according to here. Everything is set according to Jerusalem, right?
Like when for instance, like when we do our calendar, as you guys know, everything is set when the new moon will be in Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
It's always said it was Jerusalem, not United States, because that's a place where the Lord put his name there. So when we get our calculations, like this year, I think it was like 12/26 on, which had the date for the new moon this year. I can't remember, but it was like 12/26 in like the afternoon in Jerusalem. So that evening was the new year.
Yeah, now that part, Devin, also, I'm not gonna lie, that part I don't understand. As far as like the time, I don't understand, it being in the middle of the evening, instead of like, can you explain that?
Well, this is how we do it. So this year, it was March 13th at 12:22 Jerusalem time. So since it said that's when the new moon was because of science and calculation, that evening at sundown, we'll go to the beginning of the next day as far as when the new moon comes. Instead of saying, you can't see it. It's you do see it, you can't see it. First of all, it's a conjunction, which is no moon at all, and the next is almost high noon. So going to that evening and sundown.
Okay, so the next evening is usually the sun. Okay, all right. Yeah, that part, I guess if I can't see it, I'm just like, all right, so how am I supposed to know?
Yeah, just go to that sundown like we did. That's what we had and everything was sundown. So, and actually, let me see real quick. I'm gonna actually pull up time and date.
Yeah, go ahead. And I know, well, I guess why you do that, if anybody else has any questions, and I think it's actually my feed keeps going in as well. So I had to keep on reloading Facebook. So the last person I saw was Sister Brittany. I don't know if anybody was on there, but yeah, if anybody else has any questions, any comments, YouTube or Facebook, go ahead at it.
All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick so you guys can see. All right, you see this right here?
Still coming, but yeah, it's coming. Not yet, though. On my end, I see it now.
Okay, you see it, Brother Isaiah?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we see here. This is Jerusalem, Israel 2021, new moon. And we go right here, March 13th. So the new year is either in the beginning of March or in April. This year it fell on March 13th, and you see it's like 12/21. We got 12/22. That's close enough. Right. So 12/22, or 12/21 is high noon. So at sundown, it was a Saturday, it was a Sabbath. Sundown is when we celebrated the new year.
Oh, So that all right, I definitely was getting confused. Like as soon as I thought you were saying 12/21, was New Year, or the next day, which I was thinking,
Yeah, we
was
celebrate
March
New
the
Year when the
14th.
sun went down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, the 13th, but
The
sundown is
13th,
midday.
yeah. And that was my I guess my biblical person going away from it, and I was getting into how man celebrates it, the mix up, and it's very easy to do.
Yeah, it is trying to go back and forth. It is.
Yeah, yes.
So then,
okay.
So if you want to get like trumpets, you just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
So September 7th, trumpets.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, because that's the first day of the 7th month. So that just kind of give you a quick way to figure out when is the bib start and when it's trumpets. So you got 2 feasts already. And once you get a bib, you just count 14 days for the Passover, go on, and then 50 days after, the way sheaf offering get Pentecost. Now, once you get to 7th month, you just count 7, just go from September 7th, and, you count 10 days later, it's the Day of Atonement, then 15 days later, it's the Feast of Tabernacles.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just using time and date and using the move, going off this here. Mm-hmm. Now, like I said, it more when you looked up barley sighting 2021. See, you had different sites that actually this is what they do. I just picked this one. Not that I use this and saying this is the right one. I'm just showing how other people might find out how to calculate beginning of the new year. This is just one site. And like I said, I'm not saying this is the site or anything like that. I just got this from abibofgod.com. It's a hello, Abib followers. We are moving all the daily reports from the 2021 season. So I'm just saying, there's different ways of how people do it,
Right. And what we're saying too, that not necessarily, we're not saying that all of them are right, all of them are wrong. As long as you have the mindset to try to seek God, the best of the ability, hopefully, God will look upon that, especially now because personally, does anyone have it right?
The question is, how do you do it together? Unfortunately, through pride, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
until the Lord comes back.
Not until the Lord comes back.
But with humility, you can do it. If you like, people like, well, we know, and we're all kind of working on that, so we'll just try to come together and do it together. That's all I can think of.
Right. Was that question?
Said, to be honest,
go ahead.
Off the moon here. I have not been off. Exactly. And that's what we do. I look at I know the barley is this, I know the importance of it, but basically is, focus really on the moon and just do it like that, do the moon cycle and stuff. Mm-hmm. You guys have any questions on that?
No. Just want to see, the importance is still, we do the barley anyway, the importance on Jerusalem. It's not the United States or anything like that.
Right. Now, as far as unity and everybody trying to do it together, it's basically, like humbling yourself to say, we all trying to do this right. That's how we can come together and do it. Mm-hmm.
So, but Farmer's Almanac will have the new moon for the upcoming years. I mean, they can calculate that, but the only thing that really changes is when the barley will be right. That's the thing that really is the thing that changes from year to year. Barley is right.
Right, and the Farmer's Almanac is actually pretty accurate just throughout history. I mean, they looking at history because you can look even now when we plant our seeds and stuff like that for our personal garden. We have an idea just from reading the package. If we plant in February, we know by March or April we can take it outside and put it in the ground because it'll be kind of big enough. Like what we plant the butter cabbage, Kim. We planted the butter cabbage about 2 weeks ago, and technically we can get a nice handful for a sheaf of that if we chose to. So we can already harvest that now, and so we got enough of it where if we wanted to take a sheaf, if we did that, which we're not doing that because it's unnecessary because Melchizedek and that whole thing.
Right.
We could take that, sheaf, wave it, technically. So, but I mean, you can if you've been doing crops and planting and stuff long enough, you can pretty much tell how stuff is going to work because it kind of does it every year.
So okay, they know when the new moon is going to come through. So they're pretty accurate when they might say when the barley might be ripe in the upcoming years. Right now,
I've seen, they've been pretty accurate. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so then they can figure it out. Then they can be accurate with it. Then they can do that.
Yeah.
I guess that's how our forefathers used to do it as well. Like our forefathers had to be really probably better than what they are with the farmers almanac. Because they didn't have technology. Where I might be somewhere else and I know just off the land, hey, I know that in a couple months, a bib's going to be here and Passover and unleavened bread and so on and so forth.
Hold on, let me see. Is anybody on a conference call?
Okay, and I don't see nobody on Facebook. Nobody's asking on my end anyway.
Right. We're getting comments from YouTube, and I read it from YouTube.
All right. Now you had mentioned, we know that it was around March. I forget the exact date. This was the new year on here, but you had mentioned something about December 26th. What was that date for again?
December 26th?
Yeah. You had mentioned that a little bit earlier.
I think you were talking about the time and was 12/26.
Yeah, okay, 12/26.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, at first Isaiah. No, I thought he said the same thing too, but he was talking about the timing over there. So 12/26.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It does the time of day. Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, that was like 12/26. I was like,
right.
The new year was March.
Right.
March such and such. I was like, okay.
All right. Now let's go to Exodus chapter 9 real quick. I just want to show you that the Lord stressed about the ripeness of the grain even here. Exodus chapter 9, and we started verse 29 through 31.
Exodus 9, verse 29. And Moses said unto him, as soon as I am gone out of the city, I will spread abroad my hands unto the Lord, and the thunder shall cease, neither shall there be any more hail, that thou mayest know how that the earth is the Lord's. But as for thee and thy servants, I know that ye will not yet fear the Lord God. Verse 31. And the flax of the barley was smitten, for the barley was in the ear, and the flax was boiled.
All right. So
what is that?
Right. So he's stressing the bib.
Right.
And then it said the corn was in the ear because that's the grain that he was looking at, but also said newly formed grain. So here it says at verse 31, the flax and the barley was smitten, and the barley was in the ear. So this gives us a time frame that it was a bib. The barley was a bib, everything was a bib. Isaiah on YouTube said if a Hebrew calendar, I'm there. I will say my peace and my shalom. Happy whatever feast day. Grab a plate, dance a bit, and say, hey, I got a different calculation, and this is why we can be humble. So he's saying if it's a he will celebrate with other Israelites or Hebrews, even though his calculation is different, because he's still all keeping the feast, because we all trying to do the best we can. He said he'll dance a little, grab a plate, and say hi, and just say, I got a different calculation, and just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. Which that's respectable.
Mm-hmm.
Then he asked a question about the winter solstice. I think the winter solstice is actually in September. I believe it's like the last couple of weeks of September. Usually when everything stopped kind of growing for the most part, because you still got winter crops that can grow. But like your grass start growing, the leaves start falling off trees, at least up in the Midwest and in the East. You know, just the whole everything kind of just slows down and go a little dormant. And that's usually after the winter solstice or the winter the something equinox.
Equinox. Well, the winter solstice isn't the same thing as the winter equinox? I thought it was all synonymous, whatever synonymous.
It is. Okay. And that's when we talk about how the a lot of literal pagan, they worship the changes in season and changes in time and stuff like that. When days get longer and brighter, it's always either around the solstice or the equinox. It's always one or the other. They're pretty much the same thing for the most part.
Right.
So that's when their winter festivals start, when stuff start to go dormant and different things like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, when we're talking about the winter equinox or the winter solstice, is that also, are we talking about where we are, or are we talking about the land? Just for clarity, because my daughter actually schooled me on this last night. So just for clarity,
actually,
we're talking about where we are.
I only focus on the anytime we focus on Jerusalem, and we're not celebrating. Just for the record, we're not celebrating any of this.
Right.
We're not celebrating winter solstice. We're not celebrating a spring equinox or winter solstice. None of that stuff. This is just the terms they call them, but we do pay attention to, the barley and the things that the Lord told us to pay attention to, like the moon, because that's what he said. The moon was and the sun is getting for seasons and times. Matter of fact, flip over to Genesis real quick. And let's start reading Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14. Because to be honest, I don't really pay attention to the winter stuff at all. Because once I calculate the Feast of Tabernacles, we're done. You know what I mean? And we can get all that. Reason we were yeah, we can get all that basically from when we find out when the first moon is, or when the new year starts. It's the end of this.
I guess the only reason you would even worry about any of that is, if you was a crop farmer, stuff like that, when you had to, your stuff lay dormant and that, hey, I better get my stuff in now. But I have no skill in none of that. So
Isaiah on YouTube said it's the end of December. That's what that's what he thought Isaiah was talking about. Oh yeah, that is true. That when he said December 26th, he said he thought he was referring to the winter solstice.
Solstice. It
was just a mix-up. And he said, yes, we are the same.
Right.
He said, crazy. You from?
What do you say?
He said, crazy what the Most High pulls you from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and all the pagan stuff like that. Genesis chapter 1, and this is why we're even having a lot of this conversation about the new year. Start at verse 14.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years.
All right. So notice he said both lights.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how when you start talking about the new moon and the solar calendar, people say, well, it was a lunar calendar. Then you start getting floating Sabbaths, which that's not right, and different things like that, because they start to separate the sun and they separate the moon, like that they're two different things. In order to know when a day starts and ends, you need the sun, but the month is about the rotation of the moon. That's why it's called month. It means the rotation of the moon. So you need both in order to understand time and season. You can't just say, well, it's a new moon. Now from the first of the new moon, I'm going to count, 7 days, and then I have a Sabbath. But when a new moon come around, from the last day of the new moon of the month to the first day of the new moon, there's like a day and a half gap or 2-day gap that they just say, well, that just don't count. It just disappeared. And so that's why it doesn't add up. You would need both the sun and the moon to really understand seasons and times and years and days. So the Lord put the stuff in there. So we, as just a tool, like a clock and a watch, it keeps us, gives us light, and it's not nothing to be worshipped or to be celebrated, but it gives us clues how we can identify when we need to start a bib and when we need to start the Passover and the wave sheaf offering and so on.
Yeah, standards. We have those things in the air, I guess. That you don't need batteries. You don't need it never goes broke. It's always there.
Yeah. But like Isaiah on YouTube said most spring worship is based on fertility gods and crop gods. This, not what we do.
Right.
Not what we do.
Actually, I mean, even the winter celebrations are based on, some type of crazy, sexual like stuff as well.
Yeah. So I mean,
all that stuff is crazy.
It's a lot to explain, and there's a lot of stuff that usually, when we were studying and stuff like that, we never really talked about this stuff. But it's all in here for the Lord for us to figure it out. And information is so.
I'm saying, you couldn't find any one that was talking about this openly to go ahead and explain how they came up with it. It's always just assumed, or they just came up with it. It was never talked about openly.
Yeah, it was just say pretty much like, here's the list. You're like, okay. But what's funny though? When you start explaining it, then you get all the questions debating why you might be wrong. I thought, well, you never looked it up yourself. Look it up, do your research, see what you come up with, and let's sit down and have a conversation. Not attack anybody. All right. So we talked about a bib, we talked about the new moon, we talked about the barley, and these are the things we use to calculate to figure out when we start for the Passover. So now the wave sheaf offering, which we talked about today. Now let's go to Leviticus 23 real quick. And we're just gonna get to the point. Leviticus 23, and when you get there, start reading in verse 9.
Leviticus 23, verse 9. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall.
Go ahead.
All right. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it.
All right. So now the example that we have, because first thing people say, well, how do we know? Because we, in the lesson, we actually said this is the first Sunday after the Passover when this should be done. And they say, well, how do you know? Because here it doesn't say a particular date. Like it kind of like it's up in the air for us to choose, like, okay, we can do this whenever we want to. But like everything, Jesus came to show us how things to be done, and he followed a set path to his death and resurrection. You know, he died on the Passover, and he rose out the grave at the end of the Sabbath. But at the first day of the week, he presented himself to the Father. Because the question is, he had to wait till a certain time, because remember, he came out the grave at the end of the Sabbath and he just waited around. He had to, you know, I mean, why did he go straight?
Right. Why didn't? Yeah. Right.
Yeah, he could have went straight there, but he didn't. He waited around. He let someone see him resurrect, and then, which was Mary Magdalene, he said, "Don't, because I have not yet ascended to my Father, but go tell the disciples I ascended to my God and your God." You know, so he had to wait to a set time, and the scripture pretty much let us know that he waited to the, you know, the same time that the priest probably would have started waving those sheaths to be accepted as first fruits. You know, just like the lamb was sacrificed in the evening of the Passover, he would have went to be accepted by the Father when the priest was going to wave the sheaf. And that was the first Sunday after Passover, the morrow after that Sabbath, because it even says after the Sabbath. It specifically says after the Sabbath in Matthew, I think 28, 26, 28, something like that. But because he's telling you that he's going tomorrow after the Sabbath to be the way sheaf offering. So that gives us a time frame of when he did it, different things like that. And we follow Jesus as the proof. I know one time somebody said to me, like, well, if you don't put in the 3 days and 3 nights after the Passover, you just don't believe in Jesus. To me, that doesn't make any sense.
Because the 3 days and 3 nights
calculate like
right.
I mean,
when actually you're doing it because you do believe in Jesus.
Right, Isaiah,
It's kind of just the opposite, you know. And I'm not discrediting the 3 days, 3 nights were important that year, and the reason we were stressing that in the lesson, why it was important. But that don't mean every single year that is always a Wednesday. I mean, a Wednesday when he died. You know, it fluctuates. Like Good Friday, Easter Sunday is always a Friday, and it's always a Sunday. The Lord doesn't operate like that. It varies. Each year.
Right. And I guess, you know, for us, it's just easier in our mind because we have it set up. It should, you know, not should, I guess, but, you know, it's easier to operate it like Wednesday, Sunday, every year. No questions asked, you know, like Isaiah just said, you know, but that's not, it was just important for that year, not every year.
Yeah, well, that's the way man is.
Hey, bro.
Oh, that's Jacob. Oh.
Yeah.
Who's that talking?
Yeah, he's on a conference call. Yeah, we started an hour ago. Well, no, we started at 3, which is 5 o'clock. Yeah, we ended up going. We was off like at 3. Well, no, I'm saying I want to say 3. What time did we get off? 3:15. 3:15 out here. No. Oh, 3:15 there we was off. Yeah, we was off at 3:15 there. Yeah, we was off like an hour, almost 2 hours. Okay, bro. Hey, can you guys hear him?
A little bit. I can. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the reason, so that's one of the reasons why we are thoroughly trying to show that Jesus died on the Passover, and he had to be accepted by the Father on that Sunday after the Passover during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Let me cut this down a little bit. Okay. What were you saying, Mike? I'm sorry. Were you saying something?
I don't. If I was, I forgot. So I think I was just agreeing with you and Isaiah was saying. That's all. I forgot what it was though, but it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was saying that's the way man is. They always set up stuff at the same time each year. Because they got Martin Luther King's birthday in January, whether it's his birthday or not, it's gonna be on the 19th,
the 15th
or the first
19th.
That Monday in January, whether it's whether it's his birthday or not.
Yeah. Right.
They gonna celebrate it on a Monday because it's a federal holiday.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way the man.
Yeah. Right. And we get sucked into that ourselves, Even when I was just on, doing this, I got sucked into it. It's like, wait a minute, and that's why you got to make sure you come out of that, right? You got that mindset. It's not.
Okay. All right. And I do want to make a point real quick. Go to Matthew chapter 26. Matthew chapter 26. All right, so someone asked me.
No, wrong one.
Actually, my phone right there. I want to go over this real quick. I want to show you guys something. Someone asked me, how do we know that Jesus was actually accepted by the Father on the same day that he came out the grave?
Was that Donald?
Well, yeah. Right, it was the next day.
What did Isaiah say? I'm not Isaiah. No. I'm sorry. What did Jacob say? I'm sorry.
Brother Jacob said it was the next day, and it was the next day. But I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I said that statement wrong. They said, how do we know that he got accepted by the Father and he came back the same Sunday that he got accepted by the Father? And this is why they say that. I think let me go to Matthew real quick. Where is it at? Actually, it's in St. John chapter 27. St. John chapter 20, verse 27. I'm in John now. I don't know why I said Matthew. All right, St. John chapter 20 and verse 27.
All right. Then saith he to Thomas.
Started at verse 25 and read down. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, cool. The other disciples therefore said unto him, we have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe.
Verse 26.
And after 8 days, again, his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Jesus, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst and said, peace be unto you. Then saith he to Thomas, reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands, and reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing.
All right, so you see at verse 26 when it says, and after 8 days, that's when people say, well, see, Jesus, they never touched Jesus after he came.
On the first.
As soon as it happened, it was 8 days later when they finally touched Jesus. So that means that 8 days later we can have the wave sheaf offering then, and that's not exactly that's not what happened. Let's go to Ashley. Yeah, what'd you say, brother Jacob? All right.
Go out to the. He said 19th verse.
Yeah, but I want to start at verse 20. We're going to get there in a second, Jacob. St. John 20 and verse 1, then we'll go to verse 19.
St. John 20, verse 1. The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre.
All right, so this is the
Then,
first day of the week, right? So this is tomorrow after the Sabbath. All right. Read verse 17.
Verse 17. Jesus saith unto her, touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God.
All right, so he says, now remember, Matthew verse, I believe it says, don't touch me. It said, touch me not. So here, it said, touch me not in verse 17. Now, read verse 19.
Then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Jesus and stood in the midst and saith unto them, peace be unto you.
All right, so now we know this is the same day, but if you read the rest of this, they touched him, and that's what they emphasize on this. What we just read, it doesn't actually say they touched him until 8 days later, and as I see, he wasn't touched. So let's go to the book of Luke. Let's go to book of Luke 24. Now we read that it kept being the same day. Like Brother Jacob said, it was the same day after he presented himself unto the Father. But Luke gives us a little more information. And me and Isaiah was talking about this, and Isaiah brought this to my attention, and we showed it to a brother who pretty much told this to us, didn't we, Brother Isaiah?
Right.
And after we showed him this scripture right here, he was like, good job, young man. So let's go to Luke 24 and start at verse 1.
Okay. Luke 24, verse 1. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came into the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them.
All right, so this is the same time. This is tomorrow after the Sabbath. This is the first Sunday after Passover, when the wave sheaf is supposed to be offered. During the Feast of Unleavened Bread, by the way.
Verse 2.
Now
verse
jump
2.
down to verse 13.
Okay, verse 13. And behold, two of them went the same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 80 furlongs.
All right, so this is the same day. I keep emphasizing this is the same day.
Go to verse 14.
Okay. And read verse 17.
Read verse 17, okay. And he said unto them, what manner of communications are these that ye have one to another as ye walk and are sad? And the one of them, whose name was Cephas, answering said unto him, art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem, and hast not known the things which are come to pass there in these days? And he said unto them, what things? And they said unto him concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people.
All right. And so now these two gentlemen are speaking with Jesus on the same day that he presented himself to the Father, which is tomorrow after the Sabbath, which is the first Sunday after Passover, which is during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is that exact same day. He's talking to these two gentlemen. Now, this part or this record is not in John. It's not in Matthew, and it's not in Mark. So this is more information here than we get from the other ones. That's why we need precept upon precept. All right. So jump down to verse 33 and go ahead.
Verse 33. And they rose up the same hour and returned to Jerusalem, and found the 11 gathered together, and them that were with them, saying, the Lord is risen indeed, and hath appeared to Simon. And they told what things were done in the way, and how he was known of them in breaking the bread. And as they thus spake, Jesus himself stood in the midst of them, and saith unto them, peace be unto you.
This is the same day.
Mm-hmm.
Same day, 37.
But they were terrified and affrighted, and supposed that they had been seen a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto them, why are ye troubled? And why do thoughts arise in your hearts? Behold, my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me, and I see. For a spirit, I'm sorry. For a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as ye see me have.
So at verse 39, he told them that they can handle him on the very same day. So without a doubt, this is the same day that he presented himself to the Father, which was the morrow after the Sabbath, the first Sunday after Passover, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So Jesus did this according how it was written in the Holy Book.
Yeah, so this is the key right here. Right here is verse 21, where the guy said that all this is the third day since these things were done on that. And then also when he appeared to the apostles in John, what we're reading back in John, when the apostles was there, that Thomas was not there when this happened. And then they read down, was talking about 8 days after that, that's when Thomas was there. So that was the key right there, was that this was the third day since that happened. And then on 33, it says that they went to Jerusalem that same hour. They returned to Jerusalem to go ahead and confirm that it is the same day when all this stuff is going on.
Yeah.
That confirms all of it.
It does. It does. So we do know through the scripture that Jesus appeared to the disciples on the day after the morrow after the Sabbath and so on.
Yeah, except for Thomas. He wasn't there.
Right. He wasn't there. And it says he wasn't there. When he came 8 days later, he said, handle me. But Acts chapter 1 tells us that Jesus was going back and forth with them for 40 days. So he kept coming back, explaining and expounding. And then he said,
he said, handle me on the first day.
Yeah. Not many days hence.
Right.
That the gift of the Holy Ghost is going to be poured upon them. And that, of course, that's Pentecost.
Right.
So, so this is why we thoroughly say, hey, this is how we calculate it. This is how we calculate. This is how Bible Christians of God calculated and get Pentecost to fall this year on May 16th. Now, what everybody else do, you have to ask them. Ask them. I'm not explaining what they do because I'm not their spokesman. Ask them why they come up what they have, and you just pair it side by side and go from there. But one thing I can't say, we all trying to keep Pentecost though.
Right.
That's the whole thing. We're not trying to sacrifice bunny rabbits. We're not hiding eggs. We're all keeping Pentecost. And there's really no need to start pointing fingers at one another. Like Brother Isaiah said, hey, you Hebrews, we're trying to do it, trying to keep Pentecost. Dance a little, grab a plate, and have a good time. And just say, hey, I calculated differently. And leave it at that.
Yeah, what Pentecost means.
It is funny because it means 50.
Yeah.
So did you get 50? Yeah, bro. Go ahead. You hear what he said? I'm sorry. Can you guys hear what he said?
I heard Matthew.
Yeah. Right. He said, just for better understanding, Brother Jacob on the conference call said that Jesus came to fulfill the law and do all the things that the prophet said he would do, right? Go ahead, bro.
Right.
Yeah. So he said that That's a good valid point. That was something that they were, those will waive their sheaf offering outside of unleavened bread would have to answer. All right, let's go to Matthew 5. And what he said is Jesus. I'll repeat it for those.
Go ahead.
Okay. He said that Jesus, he is the Passover lamb, but he's also that unleavened bread that came down from heaven. Mm-hmm. He said, so how can he be the wave sheaf offering outside of the Feast of Unleavened Bread? And I said, that to me, that's a valid point.
Yeah,
that's a valid
absolutely.
Point. So, you have somebody who, that's something that they will ask them, and just see what they say. But this is a scripture he quoted, Matthew chapter 5 and verse 17.
Yes.
When you get there, bro, go ahead. Whoever have it or.
Matthew 5 and 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
All right, so that's what Brother Jacob was saying, that Jesus came to fulfill these things. He was the Passover. He's also he's that bread that came down from heaven. Actually, go to Saint John chapter 6. St. John chapter 6 and started at verse 47.
And John chapter 6 and verse 47.
Yes.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me hath everlasting life. I am that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world.
All right. And that's why he warned, saying, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Because his doctrine is the bread of life. He has that unleavened bread. So that's why Brother Jacob was trying to make a point, which is a good point. How are you going to make Jesus the wave sheaf offering, the unleavened bread, and wave him outside the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Everything else lines up perfectly. Everything else, the Passover, the wave sheaf offering, even his return on the Day of Atonement during the year of Jubilee, which is Pentecost. All of that stuff lines up. But then when it comes to the wave sheaf offering, we can do whatever we want to do. That doesn't really make sense. But like I said,
we're not trying to kick against anybody.
This is what our Christians do. This is what we do. We put it out there. We open up the room for people to ask questions, and different things like that. So we can explain where we're coming from, because we have nothing to hide when it comes talking about the calendar. Like, I don't have nothing to hide talking about the calendar. Brother Jacob definitely don't have anything to hide talking about the calendar. He talks about it every year. We both talk about it every year. And actually, Brother Jacob, I don't think we even heard anybody talk about the calendar until we started talking about it, did they?
Amen.
So.
Yeah, I mean, a Congress of Israel is the other ministry that dealt with.
Right, that's true. That's and also Brother Job and them, they also deal with it too. But I think it's what the thing about it is, it's just the Lord giving more and more wisdom. Maybe small, not nothing major, but it's just more and more wisdom that we're learning as we get closer and closer to His return. So of course, things that are different than people used to, they might frown upon it. I say it all the time. This is different, and I shall frown upon it. But that could be just just a human heart. So
no, it's like that all the time. Yeah.
Yes.
It might be in the same speed as the Lord
Say that again.
If you get what I mean, concerning that matter.
No, say that one more time. I didn't hear you.
I say we might be in the same stand as the Lord's apostles when they came and reformed Israel.
Yeah.
The new covenant. This might be the days to get in the preparation for the coming of the Lord. He's putting us in that same steed.
Yeah.
As the apostles. You know, the apostles mean pioneer of reformers.
Yeah.
Formation.
He was Brother Jacob online.
Just trying to help bring the people to understanding, you know, because we're living in the times of the increase of knowledge and understanding to what how the Lord really want us to be a people prepared for the Lord when he comes back.
Right. So Brother Jacob is basically saying that we are the apostles of today, basically. He said apostles of today means pioneers, because they had to come and they had to pretty much reform a lot of things, traditions that people used to do. And of course, we know that the apostles was frowned upon and stuff like that. You know, Peter always in jail. They told him, don't preach Jesus no more and different things like that. Of course, Apostle Paul was persecuted. He said, even unto this day, we are of that same seed of the apostleships and stuff like that. So, but like the book say, we always got to prove our ministry, you know, be ready to prove, ready to give an answer when it's asked of you. And, you know, and that's what we do. You know, you put the out there and let people study it. You know, I'm not trying to convert anybody. Putting out there, let people study it and let them come with their own conclusion on their own and leave it right. Yeah. So, all right, brother. We actually went over about 20 minutes, so it was a good conversation. You know, thanks, Brother Isaiah, and the people on YouTube watching us. Bible Christians God, it was cool having y'all on the conference call, man. Sorry we had the little mess up with the time, no, but you know, next time we do it, we'll be better with that. Yeah. You guys have anything you want to say before we close out?
No, happy Passover and happy feast day coming up and around here, I guess in 10 to 20 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. All right, brother. Well, you guys have a happy Passover, man. Happy Passover, Brother Jacob. Happy feast tomorrow. And we'll be streaming our regular class tomorrow at 2 p.m. on a high Sabbath. Brother Isaiah gonna do the lesson for the unleavened bread, tomorrow. All right. And all right, brother, I'll talk to you both. I'll talk to you, Brother Jacob. I'll holler at you later on. And Brother Mike and Brother. Oh, you doing your stream tonight? Okay, cool.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So just to let you guys know, Bible Christians of God, they're going to stream their unleavened bread lesson tonight. What time? 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. So you guys can tune in to Bible Christians of God Facebook page to see his lesson. And we'll be streaming ours tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right.
Amen.
All right, bro.
All right, guys.
All right,
definitely.
peace.
All right, everybody, peace.